Itamar Moses received a 2018 Tony nomination for writing the book for the acclaimed musical, The Band's Visit. We went to his home in Brooklyn to chat about what it was like to bring the acclaimed film to life on the Great White Way, and his collaboration and friendship with composer David Yazbek.
My name is Itamar Moses. I'm a playwright. I live in Park Slope, Brooklyn. I've been, writing plays in New York for 15 years, 16 years, and only now am I working on Broadway. And in a way, I'm kind of glad that it took this long, because I feel sort of acutely aware of how rare it is and how many things that are outside of your control have to sort of fall into place in order for this to happen. Very simply, the story of The Band's Visit is that an Egyptian police orchestra goes to Israel to give a concert, and they're supposed to go to Petah Tikva, one of the larger towns in Israel, but because there's a miscommunication at the bus station, they end up going to this tiny town in the middle of the desert, and the story is just about the little connections and interactions between these Egyptian musicians and these Israeli townspeople over the course of one night. I loved the movie, which was important, because you don't want to end up working on something that that you don't like, or that you don't see like the kernel of something in it. But I was also making sure it answered certain number of questions. Could this live on stage? Does a musical seem like the right form for that? Am I the person to do it? So I was sort of, and I guess I answered yes to all those questions.
Music is an integral part of The Band's Visit's story. Moses explained how he and Yazbek worked together to capture this in the script.
Music becomes in the show almost another language with which the people communicate, a more fluid, purely emotional, wordless one. Yazbek and I had never met before we worked on this project. Our first conversation ever was a phone call about this show. We've talked since then about how we both went into that conversation saying to ourselves, all right, I know how I think this should be done, and if this guy's not on the same page as me, this is never going to work. And then we're both pleasantly surprised that we had this sort of same take. So much about the source material was counterintuitive for adaptation into a musical. Its spareness, its internality, the amount of silence, the reliance on sort of poetic, like visual information. We both thought that was the thing tonally to try to preserve. It's been a really, really, I think, important lesson that I'm still processing. The contrast between the sort of idiosyncrasy and smallness and strangeness of the thing that we thought we were making, and the size of the sort of embrace that it's received. The show is a great reminder of the wonderful things that can happen if we say yes to something rather than no, or if we welcome people rather than shut them out. In a way, strangers are the clearest mirror in which we can see ourselves. And when we shut out the stranger, we're actually shutting out what we don't want to know about ourselves.